2 weeks ago, I watched my ex-wife have a complete meltdown over the phone when her lawyer explained the prenup clause she never bothered to read. The Christmas morning she thought would break me ended up destroying her instead. My name is Daniel. I'm 36 years old, and until Christmas Day, I was married to a woman named Lauren, who's 34. We have 2 kids together, Sophie, who's 8, and Jake, who's 6. We'd been married for 10 years, and for most of those years, I thought we were happy. I was wrong about a lot of things. Here's the background you need to understand. When Lauren and I got married, I was 26 and working as a junior software engineer making $55,000 a year. Lauren was 24, working as an administrative assistant making $38,000. We weren't rich, but we were in love and building a life together. About 6 months before our wedding, my grandmother passed away and left me an inheritance, $200,000. It wasn't a fortune, but it was life-changing money for a young couple. My lawyer, who'd handled my grandmother's estate, strongly advised me to get a prenuptial agreement to protect the inheritance. Lauren was hurt at first. "Don't you trust me?" she asked. "This feels like you're planning for our marriage to fail." I explained that it wasn't about trust. It was about being smart with money that my grandmother had worked her whole life to save. The prenup would protect my inheritance and anything I built with it. Everything we earned together during the marriage would still be split 50-50 if we ever divorced. After a few long conversations, Lauren agreed. We both signed the prenup. Her parents advised her to have a lawyer review it, but she said she trusted me and didn't think it was necessary. She signed it without having anyone look at it. That decision would come back to haunt her. The prenup had a specific clause. Any assets I acquired using my inheritance as the initial investment would remain my separate property in the event of divorce. My lawyer had insisted on this language to protect not just the money itself, but anything I built with it. After we got married, I used $50,000 of the inheritance as a down payment on our first house. I put the house solely in my name, as specified in the prenup. Lauren didn't object because she didn't really understand what it meant. She just saw it as us buying a house together. I used another $30,000 to invest in a friend's startup company. This was risky, and Lauren thought I was crazy, but I believed in my friend's vision. That $30,000 investment would later become worth a lot more than either of us imagined. The remaining $120,000 I invested conservatively in index funds and rental properties, always keeping meticulous records that these assets came from my inheritance. Over the next 10 years, my career took off. I moved from junior engineer to senior. Engineer to team lead to eventually chief technology officer at a growing tech company. My salary went from $55,000 to $280,000 a year. Lauren's career stayed relatively flat. She switched jobs a few times, went from administrative assistant to office manager to eventually executive assistant to a CEO. Her salary grew from $38,000 to $65,000. Good money, but not the trajectory mine took. I never made her feel bad about this. I never threw my salary in her face or acted like I was better because I made more. We lived well, took nice vacations, gave our kids a great life. We had a joint account for household expenses that we both contributed to proportionally based on our incomes. But something changed in Lauren about 2 years ago. She started making comments about how stressed she was, how overwhelmed, how she felt like she was drowning in responsibilities. She started therapy, which I supported completely. I thought it was great that she was taking care of her mental health, but the therapy seemed to make things worse. Not better. She started coming home from sessions with new revelations about how I was contributing to her problems. According to her therapist, I was too controlling with money even though she had full access to our accounts. I wasn't emotionally available even though I'd always made time to talk. I wasn't supportive of her career even though I'd encouraged every job change she wanted to make. Every session seemed to produce a new way I was failing as a husband. I suggested couples therapy. She said her therapist didn't think that would be helpful right now, that I needed to work on myself first before we could work on us. So I found my own therapist and started going weekly, trying to understand what I was doing wrong. My therapist, a kind older woman named Dr. Patricia Chen, listened to everything and finally said something that stuck with me. "Daniel, it sounds like Lauren's therapist is helping her build a case against you rather than helping your marriage. That's concerning." I didn't want to believe it. I thought if I just tried harder, was more attentive, more present, more everything, Lauren would be happy again. The last few months were hell. Lauren became distant, cold. She stopped initiating any affection. She'd pick fights over small things, blow them out of proportion, then give me the silent treatment for days. The kids noticed. Sophie asked me one night why Mommy always seemed angry at me. I had no good answer. 2 weeks before Christmas, Lauren told me she wanted us to sleep in separate rooms. "I need space to process my feelings," she said. I moved into the guest room, hoping this was temporary, some kind of breakthrough phase in her healing process. On Christmas Eve, the kids and I decorated cookies while Lauren stayed in our bedroom, door closed, saying she had a headache. I tucked Sophie and Jake into bed, read them stories, and tried to make everything feel normal, even though our family was falling apart. Christmas morning, the kids woke up at 6:30 like always, rushing downstairs to see what Santa brought. I made coffee, started breakfast, and called up to Lauren that the kids were opening presents. She came downstairs in yoga pants and one of my old sweatshirts, her hair messy, her face blank. The kids were excited, showing her toys, but she barely responded. She just watched them with this detached expression. After the kids settled down with their new stuff, Lauren looked at me. "Daniel, I need to talk to you. Alone." We went into the kitchen. She pulled an envelope from behind the coffee maker and handed it to me. "What's this?" "Just open it." I opened it. Divorce papers, official, legal, already filled out with her attorney's information. "Lauren, what? I can't do this anymore." Her voice was flat, rehearsed. "My therapist says you're holding me back from my full potential. I need to find myself, discover who I am outside of this marriage. I deserve to be happy." I looked at the papers, then at her, then back at the papers. Through the doorway, I could see Sophie and Jake playing with their new toys, completely unaware their family was ending. "You're doing this on Christmas morning? In front of the kids?" They're not paying attention, and I couldn't wait anymore. I've been dying inside for months. Something in me just broke. Not broke like shattered, but broke like a chain snapping. I'd spent 2 years trying to fix whatever was broken in our marriage, going to therapy, walking on eggshells, trying to be perfect. And she'd been planning this the whole time. "Okay," I said. "Okay? Okay. If this is what you want, I'm not going to fight you." I took the papers, grabbed a pen from the junk drawer, and started signing. Every page that needed my signature, I signed it right there. Lauren watched me, and her expression started to shift from determined to confused. "What are you doing?" "I'm signing the papers. You want a divorce? I'm giving you a divorce. But don't you want to talk about this? Try to work things out? You just served me divorce papers on Christmas morning in front of our children. What's there to work out? I thought you'd fight for me. For us." I looked at her, and I felt nothing but tired. "You deserve to be happy, Lauren. If I'm holding you back, then you should be free. I'm not going to trap you in a marriage you don't want." She looked almost panicked now. "Daniel, wait. Maybe we should think about this. Maybe we're moving too fast. You're the one who brought divorce papers. I'm just respecting your decision." I finished signing everything, put the papers back in the envelope, and handed them to her. "I'll pack my stuff and be out by tonight. The kids can stay here with you since this is what they know. We'll figure out custody and everything else through the lawyers." "Tonight? You're leaving tonight? You want a divorce? Why would I? Stay?" I walked past her, went upstairs, and pulled out my old suitcases from the closet. I started packing clothes, toiletries, the essentials. Lauren followed me upstairs. "Daniel, stop. Let's talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. But the kids. You served me divorce papers on Christmas. You didn't think about the kids then. We'll tell them together when I'm done packing, and we'll do our best to make this easy on them." She stood in the doorway crying, and I felt bad for her, but I wasn't going to beg her to reconsider. I wasn't going to plead for her to choose me. She'd made it clear I wasn't what she wanted. I packed 2 suitcases of clothes, grabbed my laptop and important documents from the home office, and came back downstairs. The kids were still playing, happy in their Christmas bubble. "Sophie, Jake, can you come here for a minute?" They came over, and Lauren sat down on the couch. I knelt down to their level. "Guys, Mom and I need to tell you something. We love you both very much, but we've decided that it's better for our family if we don't live together anymore." Sophie's face crumbled. "You're getting divorced?" "Yes, sweetheart, but this doesn't change how much we love you. You'll still see both of us all the time." Jake started crying. "Did we do something wrong?" "No, buddy. No. This is about grown-up stuff. You two are perfect. This is not your fault at all." Lauren was sobbing on the couch, but wasn't saying anything helpful, so I held both kids while they cried and promised them everything would be okay. I kissed them both, told them I loved them, and carried my suitcases to my car. Lauren followed me outside. "Where are you going to go?" "I'll figure it out. I'll text you once I'm settled so you have my address." "Daniel, please, can't we just pause this? Take some time to think?" "You had time to think. You hired a lawyer, filed papers, and chose Christmas morning to do this. This is what you wanted." "I just wanted you to fight for me," she said, crying harder. "I wanted you to show me you cared. I've been showing you I cared for 10 years. It was never enough. I'm not playing games anymore." I got in my car and drove away, leaving her standing in the driveway. I checked into a hotel for a few nights while I figured out my next steps. Called my lawyer first thing the next morning, even though it was the day after Christmas. His name was Robert Morrison, and he'd handled the prenup originally. When I told him what happened, he was quiet for a moment. "Did she have a lawyer review the prenup when you signed it?" "No. I suggested it, but she said she trusted me and didn't think it was necessary." "And you used your inheritance to purchase assets over the years?" "Yes. The house, some investments, rental properties. I kept records of everything like you told me to." "Daniel, this divorce is going to go very differently than Lauren probably expects." What do you mean? The prenup specifies that any assets acquired with your inheritance remain your separate property. That includes the house you've been living in, the appreciation on your investments, the rental properties. She's entitled to half of what you earned together during the marriage, but nothing that came from the inheritance. I felt my stomach drop. The house? She's going to lose the house? Unless she can buy you out, which, given her salary, seems unlikely. The house is worth what now? About $600,000? Around that, yeah. And your equity is roughly $400,000 after the mortgage. That's your separate property. She'd have to pay you $200,000 just to keep half the equity, which I don't think she can afford. I thought about Sophie and Jake losing their home on top of their parents divorcing. Can I let her stay there? Just give her the house? You can, but I strongly advise against it. You have 2 children to think about. That equity could fund their college educations, and knowing Lauren served you papers on Christmas morning, I don't think she deserves that kind of generosity. He was right, but it still felt cruel. There's more, Robert continued. Remember that startup investment you made, your friend's company? Yeah, I put in $30,000 about 9 years ago. I've been following that company. They just got acquired by a major tech corporation. Your shares are worth approximately $3.2 million. I almost dropped my phone. What? $3.2 million. The acquisition closed last month. The payout should hit your account in the next few weeks. That's your separate property too, since it came from inheritance funds. I couldn't process it. That risky investment I'd made when we were newlyweds had turned into millions. Does Lauren know about this? Did you tell her? I knew the company was doing well, but I had no idea about the acquisition or the payout amount. Then she probably has no idea what she's walking away from. Over the next week, I found a temporary furnished apartment and started the process of separating our lives. I texted Lauren my address. We communicated only through text about the kids and logistics. She kept trying to call me, but I didn't answer. She'd text things like, "Can we please talk?" and "I made a mistake," and "I miss you." I didn't respond to any of it. Exactly 2 weeks after Christmas, my phone rang at 8 in the evening. Lauren's name. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Hello? She was screaming. Not crying. Screaming. What the fuck, Daniel? What the actual fuck? What are you talking about? The prenup. My lawyer just explained the prenup to me. You knew. You knew what would happen. I knew we had a prenup, yes. The house is yours? All of it? How is that possible? I bought it with my inheritance. The prenup specifies that anything purchased with inheritance funds remains separate property. But we lived there. Together for 10 years, I raised our children there. And you're welcome to stay there while we figure out custody and living arrangements. But legally, yes, it's my house. My lawyer says I'm entitled to almost nothing, just half of the money we saved together, which is what, $60,000? That's it? That's what the prenup says. Everything we earned together during the marriage gets split. Everything that came from my inheritance stays mine. What about your salary? You make way more than me now. I should get alimony. You might get some temporary support while you adjust, but you work full-time and make a decent salary. You're not entitled to live off my income forever. This is insane. You trapped me. Lauren, you're the one who wanted this divorce. You served me papers on Christmas morning. I just signed what you asked me to sign. But I didn't know. I didn't understand what the prenup meant. You signed it without reading it carefully. That's not my fault. My lawyer says there's more. Something about investments? I took a breath. She was about to find out. Yes. Remember that startup investment I made years ago? $30,000 in my friend's company? The one I told you was stupid? That one. The company just got acquired. My shares are worth about $3.2 million. Silence on the other end. Complete silence. Lauren? $3 million? Her voice was barely a whisper. $3.2 million, yes. That's also separate property because it came from inheritance funds. No. This can't be happening. This is happening. You wanted a divorce. You're getting one, but you're getting divorced according to the legal agreement you signed. I want to cancel it. I want to cancel the divorce. It doesn't work like that. Yes, it does. We can just stop. We can say we changed our minds. You changed your mind. I didn't. I signed the papers you gave me because you told me you couldn't do this anymore, that I was holding you back, so I'm letting you go. Daniel, please, I made a mistake. My therapist, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I can fire her. We can start over. You served me divorce papers on Christmas morning in front of our children. You spent months making me feel like I was failing you. You told me I was holding you back from your happiness. That's not something I can just forgive because you found out about money. So this is about revenge? You're punishing me? This isn't about revenge. This is about respecting your decision. You wanted out. You're out. But I didn't know about the money. And if the money didn't exist, you'd still want the divorce. You didn't want me, Lauren. You wanted the idea of being free. Well, you're free now. I'll fight this. My lawyer says we can challenge the prenup. You can try, but you'll spend tens of thousands in legal fees and lose. Robert made sure that prenup was airtight. You signed it voluntarily, you weren't coerced, and you had the option to have a lawyer review it, but chose not to. No judge is going to invalidate it. She was crying now, hard, desperate crying. Please, Daniel, please don't do this. I love you. I love our family. I made a terrible mistake. You did make a mistake, but it's too late to take it back. You broke something that can't be fixed. What about the kids? You're going to take their home away? I'm not taking anything away. You did that when you decided to end our marriage. The kids will be fine. They have 2 parents who love them. That's what matters. I can't afford to buy you out of the house. Where am I supposed to go? That's something you'll need to figure out. You have 60 days to find a place according to the divorce agreement. 60 days? With what money? You make $65,000 a year. You'll get $30,000 from the joint savings. You can find an apartment. An apartment? I'm supposed to downgrade from our house to an apartment because you're punishing me? You're supposed to downgrade because you chose to divorce a spouse who had protected assets you didn't bother to understand. Actions have consequences. She hung up on me. Over the next few days, she called and texted constantly, begging, pleading, threatening, bargaining. She tried everything. I didn't engage beyond logistics about the kids. Her parents called me. Her dad left a voicemail saying I was being cruel and vindictive, that I'd tricked Lauren into signing an unfair prenup. Her mom texted saying I should be ashamed of myself for abandoning my family. I didn't respond to any of them. My parents, who'd heard what happened, were supportive. She made her choice, my dad said. You gave her a chance to reconsider right there in the kitchen, and she doubled down. She's only upset now because there are financial consequences. He was right. 3 weeks after Christmas, the acquisition payout hit my investment account, $3.2 million. I stared at the number for a long time, thinking about how different my life was going to be. I met with Robert to discuss next steps. We need to finalize custody arrangements, he said. What are you thinking? 50-50 shared custody if possible. I don't want to take the kids away from their mother. That's generous given how she's behaved. It's not about her. It's about them. They need their mom. We worked out a custody schedule. The kids would alternate weeks between us. I'd keep paying child support even though it wasn't required with 50-50 custody because I wanted to make sure Lauren could afford a decent place for the kids. The house situation was tricky. Lauren couldn't afford to buy me out, and I didn't want to force a sale immediately because it would disrupt the kids even more. We agreed that she could stay in the house for 6 months while she figured out her living situation, paying me a small amount of rent. After 6 months, we'd sell the house and split the proceeds, though most of it would come to me per the prenup. Lauren's lawyer tried to argue that the prenup was unfair, that she'd signed it under duress, that I'd hidden information from her. None of it stuck. Robert had documented everything. We had emails where I'd encouraged her to have a lawyer review the prenup. We had records showing I'd been transparent about using inheritance funds for investments. The divorce was finalized 8 weeks after that Christmas morning. Fastest divorce Robert had ever handled, he said. The day the divorce became official, Lauren texted me, I hope you're happy. You got everything you wanted. I replied, I wanted a happy marriage and a family. You're the one who wanted something different. This is what that looks like. She didn't respond. The months that followed were strange. I bought a nice 3-bedroom house close to the kids' school, furnished it, made sure Sophie and Jake had their own rooms decorated exactly how they wanted. On my weeks with them, we fell into a routine. Homework, dinner, bedtime stories, weekend activities. It was good, better than the tense atmosphere that had filled our house those last few months of the marriage. Lauren struggled. She moved into a 2-bedroom apartment that ate up most of her income. She had to sell her car and get something cheaper. She had to budget in ways she never had before. I heard through mutual friends that she'd fired her therapist and was furious at the woman for encouraging her to leave me. She told people the therapist had promised her she'd be happier divorced, that she'd find herself and thrive. Instead, she was broke and alone. Part of me felt bad for her. Part of me didn't. 4 months after the divorce, Lauren asked if we could meet for coffee to talk. I agreed. She looked tired when she walked in. She'd lost weight, had dark circles under her eyes. Thank you for meeting me, she said, sitting down. Of course. I want to apologize for everything, for the way I ended things, for serving you papers on Christmas, for not fighting harder to save our marriage before it got to that point. Okay. I was so unhappy, and I blamed you for all of it. My therapist kept telling me that I'd never be happy if I stayed with you, that you were the source of my problems. I believed her because I wanted to believe it. I wanted it to be simple, you know? Just leave and everything would be better. But it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Leaving didn't fix anything. I'm still unhappy, but now I'm also alone and broke, and I've destroyed my family." I didn't say anything. "I know I can't undo what I did. I know you'll never take me back, but I need you to know that I regret it. Every single day, I regret it. I appreciate you saying that. Do you ever regret signing those papers so fast, not fighting for us? No, you told me you couldn't do it anymore. You told me I was holding you back. What kind of person would I be if I forced you to stay in a marriage you didn't want? A person who loved me. I did love you. That's why I let you go." She started crying. "I was so stupid. I threw away everything because some therapist convinced me the grass was greener, and now I've lost you, lost the life we built, and the kids only see me half the time." "The kids are doing okay. They're adjusting." "Are they?" "Sophie barely talks to me anymore. She blames me for the divorce." "She's 8. She doesn't understand why you did what you did. Give her time." "Time isn't going to change the fact that I destroyed our family on Christmas morning." She was right, but I didn't say it. "Lauren, I hope you find what you're looking for. I really do. But you need to stop looking for it in our past. We're done. We're co-parents, and we can be friendly for the kids, but that's all we'll ever be. Because of the money. No. Because you spent months tearing me down, made me feel like I was failing, and then served me divorce papers on Christmas in front of our children. The money just made the divorce less complicated than it could have been. If you'd been broke, I wouldn't have left you." I almost laughed. "If you honestly believe that, you're lying to yourself. You left because you were unhappy, and you wanted to blame someone else for it. If the money didn't exist, you'd still have left, and then you'd have spent years resenting me for not being able to provide the life you wanted." She couldn't argue with that. We finished our coffee in uncomfortable silence. As we were leaving, she asked one more question. "Are you seeing anyone?" "That's not really your business anymore." "So you are." "I'm focusing on the kids and my career. What I do beyond that doesn't concern you." It was a lie. I'd gone on a few dates, nothing serious, but I wasn't ready to tell her that. 6 months after the divorce, we sold the house. It sold for $620,000. After paying off the mortgage and fees, there was $430,000 in equity. Per the prenup, I kept $400,000, and Lauren got $30,000. She was bitter about it, but she couldn't do anything. She used her portion as a down payment on a small townhouse outside the city. It was fine, adequate for her and the kids on her weeks, but it was a far cry from the house we'd lived in. My life, meanwhile, improved in ways I hadn't expected. The investment payout gave me financial security I'd never imagined. I put most of it in trusts for Sophie and Jake, invested the rest conservatively. I could afford to work less, spend more time with the kids, pursue hobbies I'd let go during the marriage. I started dating someone seriously about 8 months after the divorce. Her name was Rachel. She was a teacher, and she was kind, patient, and had no interest in my money. When I told her about the prenup and the payout, she just shrugged. "That's your past. I'm interested in who you are now." Sophie and Jake loved her, which mattered most. Year after the divorce, Lauren called me on Christmas Eve. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hi, Daniel. I just wanted to say I'm sorry again for what I did last Christmas." "I know you are." "The kids are with you this year, right?" "Yeah, we're doing Christmas morning at my place." "Tell them I love them, and that I'll see them tomorrow afternoon." "I will." "Daniel?" "Yeah?" "Do you ever think about what could have been? If I hadn't done what I did?" I thought about it for a moment. "Sometimes. But then I remember how miserable we both were those last few months. I think we would have ended up here eventually, just maybe with less money and more resentment." "You're probably right. Merry Christmas, Lauren." "Merry Christmas." Now, more than a year later, my life looks nothing like it did that Christmas morning when she handed me divorce papers. My kids are happy and healthy, splitting time between 2 homes that are both filled with love. I'm in a relationship with someone who values me for who I am, not what I provide. I have financial security that my grandmother's inheritance and my smart decisions created. And Lauren? She's figuring out her life. She got what she said she wanted: freedom, a chance to find herself, to not be held back anymore. It just came with consequences she didn't anticipate. Sometimes I think about that moment in the kitchen when I started signing the papers. The look of confusion on her face when she realized I wasn't going to beg her to stay. She'd expected a fight, drama, maybe weeks or months of me trying to change her mind. Instead, I gave her exactly what she asked for. And it turned out that what she asked for wasn't actually what she wanted at all. The prenup she never bothered to read protected me from what could have been a devastating divorce. The inheritance my grandmother left me changed my life twice. Once when she gave it to me, and once when it protected me from losing everything I'd built with it. Lauren learned the hard way that big decisions require understanding the consequences. That divorce papers signed without a fight don't mean someone doesn't care. Sometimes they mean someone cares enough to respect your choice. And that therapists who tell you to blow up your life without fixing your problems first might not have your best interests at heart. As for me, I learned that you can't save a marriage when only one person wants to save it, that signing papers fast isn't giving up, it's having dignity, and that sometimes the best thing you can do for someone who says you're holding them back is to let them go and see if they fly. Lauren didn't fly, but I did.